The Podical sound.
Podcast, you can't win. Talking a good game, you can't win. Topics never lame, you can't win. Win.
Not your average Joseph. Marvelous.
It's ridiculously funny.
I'm Marvelous.
And I'm not your average Joseph.
And we are the Podical Sons. Let's start the show. Welcome everybody. Like, comment, subscribe.
All of that.
YouTube, you can see us. All streaming platforms possible. At podicalsons.com on all social medias. And let's start the show. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, man. It's still no snow in the month of January. I don't know how we're getting away with this.
Watch your mouth. What we're not going to do is talk about
cursive?
this.
It's okay.
What we're going to do is
just
enjoy
enjoy
the climate change.
Forget what I said. We're enjoying lovely weather.
And I bet you as soon as we open up the window and stuff, you're going to see flakes. You're going to see flakes.
I hope not.
We have a special guest on the show today. Tell the people about yourself. Mr. MMA himself. Talk to him.
Thank you, fellas. I'm Kenai Andrews, and I'm the editor-in-chief of MMA Crossfire, which is covers combat sports throughout the world. So we like to cover what's going on. And as you fellas know, there was a huge event last night, and we like to cover that. So that's what we do.
A new champion.
There is a new champion there in the light heavyweight division.
A new champ. And that was what, his 12th? No, 13th fight.
Yeah, I mean, he's, his professional record is 33 and, Glover's record is actually 33-9. But yeah, Jamal's is like 13th fight. That's right, 1-0 with one no contest. So he got up there pretty quick.
So what is this Glover thing, what you were saying? Because you said in total he has 33?
Glover is the more experienced person in that fight. I mean, he was 8 going in there. And he was
Glover's, what, 40 plus now?
43.
Yeah.
43.
Okay.
So, he was trying to make history again as being one of the oldest champions in the company. But, that was the thing. Like, with the experience of Glover and, the grappling, be enough, and plus he was in his home country of Brazil. To be enough to take away, the striking prowess and an up and coming, skill set of Jamal. And I predicted that Jamal would take it, and he proved me right.
It was kind of. I want to say, because I'm so used to Glover, right. I'm so used to Glover throughout the years and stuff, whatever. So I want to say, me seeing now Hill, right? Like, I just know Hill from the other prelims that I've seen him in before, and stuff like that. And I know, I have a friend, he's religious when they're talking like anything pertaining to UFC. So he was like, "Oh, this guy is something to watch. This something, and all the above." And he's like a bootleg John Jones. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, okay, John Jones is a name that flags everybody's radar. So I'm like, all right, let me give it a shot. So I was normally going with Glover, and then when I seen like some of these jabs come out, and I seen that Glover was leaking early, I was like, oh nah, this is a different dance. This is a party. Right. So it was a good fight, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the, embedded in the preamble there, we saw, clips of Jamal training on the ground and trying to prepare for whatever Glover might want to do on the ground. Right. And that let me know that, okay, these guys have a plan. They know what to do. Go into the ground. And I think his striking is good enough that, should it stay on the feet, that he should be able to take it.
Yeah, he was ducking and dodging a lot of the, I want to say, probably Glover had a takedown on him, going towards the end.
Yeah, around the third round or fourth round. Yeah, and in the beginning he was trying to take him down right away from the start.
Yeah, that baby oil on him. He was ducking that.
That's a good strategy too, man.
That's good strategy, exactly.
Vaseline, baby oil, whatever. The ref don't see it, don't matter.
Hey, work.
But Glover tried to take it down. He was smart. He knew that probably striking wise, he would maybe try to keep make Jamal respect his striking, but eventually he had to get it down to the ground if he wanted to win. So it was just just like his last fight, Glover. It wasn't enough. He was there. He was right there. Just like the Raptors there. With their last right there, but the guy was just too much, and he was just too smart.
Yeah, tenacity. is not the only thing you need and stuff to kind of win these fights. You need, like, I want to say, at least a quick, cunning know-how to know how the degree of everything might just change. Because I want to say, there's a few times and stuff where I thought Glover was going to get the upper hand on him because he hit Hill in a type of way. Right. And I'm like, is he buckling? Is he stumbling? I was like, oh, shit, this is Glover's shine time. Mm-hmm. But then Hill's like, nah, let me shake this off. You going to eat these fists.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's funny with the Brazilian fighters, you know, it's you can always expect the grappling. I mean, when I first started watching, I think it was the Ultimate Fighting Championship when the Gracie brothers were doing it back then. It wasn't there was no like regular coverage.
Yeah. Yeah,
you can choke an opponent out. It was
no weight divisions.
Yeah, it was just
no rules.
Very raw. And
rules.
Grappling was the order of the day, but now it seems like striking is more of a modern type look at it. You feel the same way?
Yeah, I think everyone's well rounded nowadays. Like everyone knows how to wrestle or defensively hold their own. Everyone knows how to strike. Everyone knows how a little bit of most of the martial arts now. And so, you know, if you're really good in one area, you know, usually your strategy is, you know, to bring it into your world, bring it into your strength, and just kind of, you know, stay out of their strength.
Right.
And I think, you know, with the men and especially now with the women, the females, I mean, everyone is getting, you know, good, you know, at just about everything. So now it's a lot tougher for like someone like the Gracie, like Royce Gracie, who had the superpower of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which nobody knew. You know, people would just go to the ground not knowing that they were in it's like, you know, you're in danger there going on the ground, letting a man who knows how to choke you out 500 different ways just sit on top of you and do his thing. So now everyone knows that, okay, I'm not going to go on the ground with this guy. He knows how to choke me out. He knows how to do this and that.
Right.
So let me focus on this. So, you know, the skill set is just so much more now that we've seen guys like the Gracies and, you know, George St. Pierre do their thing.
So do you feel like where it is now, the league is more strikers or more grapplers?
I would say for the last 5 or 6 years, I think grappling has been more the dominant thing. I mean, from the heavyweights all the way down, you know, there's Brock Lesnar, there's Cain Velasquez, you know, even now Francis Ngannou, Stipe Miocic, they're all well-schooled in grappling, and they know that if they can't knock you out, they can always use that grappling to get you on the ground, control you, and just pile up the points and get the decisions.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's very difficult to compete if you do not have that wrestling skill set in your, you know, Anderson Silva for the longest time was the exception. You know, his striking was so good. He had that Bruce Lee thing going.
So that's the reason why, like, I miss people like Anderson Silva. So that's why watching like Jamal Hill last night was kind of refreshing. Yeah, because I was like, yes, we have strikers. Because the man on man grapple up for like 2 hours and then like slow ground pound or possible, like, it gets kind of boring to me.
Sure.
Right.
But then when you see the strikers and stuff, you see like, oh, you see somebody kind of get frazzled.
Stunned.
I'm like, because I'm a boxer guy. I love boxing. Right. So when I'm seeing the striker stuff and action and stuff, I'm like, if he can hit like this, when you put your ass in that little chokey, it's a wrap.
And things revolve too, right? You know, people see, you know, the success of Jamal Hill. They see the success of the striking, and then they want to do that too. So it's kind of, you know, copycat to a certain extent as well. You know, you see someone knocking people out like Anderson or Jamal, you know, people want to do that too. And then, you know, it becomes a little bit of, you know, I want to do that too. And then, but yeah, I agree.
That might not be for that person.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, not everyone can strike like Jamal or John Jones. Like, those guys are exceptions. Like, they're just so good. We've been spoiled, I would say, the last 10 years because we've had, who have we had? We had George St. Pierre. Unbelievable striking, unbelievable wrestling, can finish the fight anywhere. Exciting, from Canada, representing Canada for the last 5-10 years. John Jones, you know, it's like Dhalsim in Street Fighter. You can't touch him. You know, you simply keep away 5 rounds. He can choke you out. He can wrestle. He can knock you out. You know, Cain Velasquez, unbelievable, you know, 6'2", 250 pounds, quick as a cat, but yet so heavy. Yeah. Brock Lesnar, you know, Francis Ngannou, these guys so big, so fast, so powerful. One shot is all they need to put you away. And, we've been blessed to have all these fighters come in and compete at the highest level. And now, I think like recently, maybe the last year or so, there's been a little bit of a rebuilding in some of the divisions because some of those guys have retired, Jose's, we had 2 retirements last night.
Right.
And Shogun retired, and then Glover retired after the fight. So
did he?
Yeah, he retired after the fight.
Okay, so I shut it down too early.
Yeah, well, I mean, these guys are getting up there. Like he's 43, right? So I was expecting if he lost the fight, he was going to retire, or maybe one more fight if he won the belt. But
right.
Then it's the new generation now, and we saw a lot of the new generation last night. There we saw. Oh man, we saw the Bonfim brothers there with that flying knee with Terrence McKinney was unbelievable.
Yeah.
A lot of the new generation now is showing what they can do.
Wait, is there like almost like an average amount of years for a fighter? Would you say, or they just basically it's when they're conditioning, when they feel like their body can no longer sustain it?
Well, I would estimate that the prime of a fighter typically is like their mid-20s to maybe low 30s. So like you're if you're a young and up and comer, you're maybe 21 to 24 or something like that. Right. And then as you gain experience, you gain your stride. You're like maybe 25 to 29, and then when you have the combination of experience and physical athleticism.
Your game should change.
Like 29 to 32, and then after that, it's more experience and knowledge rather than relying on your physical attributes.
Exactly.
Right.
So there's definitely a time frame.
Even with Glover, I think like a few times stuff when he was getting hit, he kind of went with the punches, so they kind of alleviate some of the damages and stuff that was happening to him. Yeah. That takes experience.
Yeah, those little tricks of the trade really go a long way, especially when you're an older fighter. Exactly. You don't have to take the shots like a younger fighter can. You don't have to eat those shots like Chuck Liddell. You can roll with the punches. You can you can move your head. Use angles so that you're difficult to hit. There's so many things that really help older fighters compete, and that's why Glover was in there last night. I mean, to compete at 43. I mean, you'd have to go back to maybe Randy Couture, who was like unbelievable, who competed until like 49 years old.
Yeah.
But you saw how his last fight ended up. I mean, he got knocked the hell out.
It's okay. In my mind, Randy is an expendable, so we're not going to talk bad about Randy. We're not going to talk
expendable. I'm not going to mention that karate kick, but maybe I did, but... Randy was unbelievable, but it's very difficult to get up there like those ages and still compete. So I got to tip my hat to Glover.
Of course,
unbelievable performances. Just came a hair short in the last fight. They're losing the belt to Erie, and now he has nothing to hang his head about. He had an unbelievable career. Hats off to his crew, John Heckelman and all those guys at the pit who he trained with. They really had him ready for that fight. He just came up a hair short.
Yeah.
That's fair. All right. Let's get to the polls of the week. Huh? And we can get back to some more of the combat talk. So first poll of the week said, have you ever been cheated on or cheated or even both? So this was one of the polls and stuff that we had like three.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Now, the funny thing too, been cheated on, blank.
That was blank?
That was blank.
Okay.
Now, been cheated on, cheated or both, those were the ones that were filled.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, I guess a lot of people like, if you cheat on me, damn right, I'm going to cheat back, whatever, right? So they're clapping back. And I don't know if they're clapping back with the same person or in other circumstances now in a new relationship, whatever. They're like, well, I got cheated on the last one. Let me get some insurance in just in case.
Let me just preempt the strike.
Right. Yeah. But like, kudos to everybody and stuff who participated in the polls and they admitted that aspect of stuff. So yeah, been cheated on won by 56%. So tell me, gentlemen.
I'm both.
Oh, wow.
I'm both.
You're both.
Yeah.
You're a both person.
I was the cheatee and the cheater.
Cheatee, and cheater. What have we learned?
That it hurts. So maybe I shouldn't go out and do the being a cheater.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Cheated on. I came from a single parent household, so it was, although I watched, we're all men here. I mean, we all grew up watching the Fresh Prince and all them, the players and all that stuff. But I'm just not a player. I mean, so I couldn't really do that stuff. But when you get cheated on, I'll be honest, it does cross your mind.
Yeah.
It does cross your mind.
Yeah.
You kind of wonder if the grass is greener on the other side. You see everything happening, but at the end, I just had to take the pain, man.
Yeah. Same. I've never cheated. I've never cheated. So I've been cheated on.
Yeah.
Now the funny thing is stuff, whatever, is I always looked in stuff where, for myself, the culture, like what you were saying, the culture and stuff that we come from and stuff is like, you're supposed to have an army of women or something like that and everything and stuff like that, whatever. Like, trick what, lace who, daddy what, mace do, got a lot of girls that love to replace you. Right? And then now, you're in a situation where you got cheated on, you're like, you're doing all the right things for the wrong person. And like, what the hell do you do now?
Yeah,
so now, even if you end it with said person and stuff, whatever, do you now go in there and be like, you know what? You might move like her or something like about you reminds me of her. And then you be like, you know what? Just in case.
Preemptive strike.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like for me, whatever you're into and stuff like that, right? I don't agree when people say all men cheat. I don't agree to that and stuff like that. And I think a lot of people have different type of dispositions and stuff on where they would stand with all these type of things. But let's say this. If your 20s, you had this kind of decision to cheat or not cheat, and that's your Shakespeare moment, your internal question.
Right.
Are you still saying that in your 40s?
Yeah.
Or even your 50s and everything like that? Like, where does the elevation come in to say, like, you know what? That's behind me or that's not for me. Growth and development kind of kicked in and then,
Yeah.
So I think, like, for me, I feel like it's not a young person's sport, but it's a young-minded sport.
Right.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I also think you have to know who you are too. I mean, in combination with the environment you're in. I mean, I have a lot of friends who got married young and now they're divorced or didn't work out or whatever, and there's that temptation, to cheat or to go wild or whatever, but. Depending on your situational background, like for me, I came from a single parent household.
Same.
I saw the consequences of broken relationships and all of that. So that kind of really scared me in terms of maybe I don't want to have to deal with this sort of stuff. So let me just try and see what happens here, and smell the roses when I can smell the roses. I'm single. I can smell the roses. That's fine.
Right.
When you have a rose, and let me work on this rose as opposed to finding another rose.
Smell another rose.
Man, don't build the garden.
Because it's hard to keep them roses, man. It's you watch Judge Judy and all those. You see squabbling in court and all the money, and it can be hard on a brother, man. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with that stuff.
No, I agree to that. No complaints from this side because I was once married. I got married in my 20s.
Okay.
And then it didn't work out and stuff. So in my mid-30s, I jumped back into the fray.
Right.
And then I had a lot of motivation from everybody and stuff. Whatever. Like, this is your time. Go free.
Right.
Since you didn't cheat.
Right.
Let the dam flow and stuff, whatever. And then it was good, but it was tedious.
Yeah.
Like, it was busy and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm more of a one flower kind of guy, too.
Yeah.
Because I look at it stuff as like, you got to go over here, water this flower. You got to give this flower a little daylight. You got to give this flower a little different atmosphere. You got to do a lot.
Yeah.
And the one thing with the flowers is they always want the attention. So when how do you divide up the time when somebody wants almost 100% of your time?
You come with lies and excuses.
Yeah.
Straight goods.
The only way. It's the only way.
Straight goods. Alibi. Always have an alibi.
Yeah, I mean, it just takes a lot of energy to the point where, sooner or later it's going to fall on you, and it's hard to get out from under when it crashes down on you like
Very
that.
true.
Right.
Very true. Okay. The next poll, we're asking, are you for or against homeschooling? And 60% said they're for it.
Oh, wow.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Now, you and I, we had a slight discussion and stuff about it and everything last time and stuff.
Right.
How are you feeling about that? Are you for or against it?
I don't have a problem with homeschooling. You know, when I think of homeschooling, I think of the United States in particular, of course, because, you know, the educational system down there varies quite dramatically depending on which state you're in, Texas. But, you know, in situations where, you know, the educational system is not great or it's, you know, just bad, you know, homeschooling can be a great alternative. And in that situation, I think it's great. Where in other states where, you know, the educational system is good, you know, it still can be a good alternative. And I think it's a good option. I know some people who have been homeschooled and, you know, they seem quite...
They grew up here?
In the States.
Okay.
In the States, in the states of Indiana. And in the state of Indiana. And as far as I can tell, they're productive members of society. They don't seem any different from anyone who's gone the traditional route. But then, of course, you know, you go on YouTube and you see, or you watch stories of people who have been homeschooled and they couldn't tell you where, you know, couldn't tell you who the president was, or you know, they seem out of touch with society. So,
right.
But I think overall, from what I have seen, I think I don't have a problem with homeschooling. I think I've seen enough that it is productive. And again, in states where the educational system is bad, I think it's a great alternative.
So do you think educational, I want to say, state here in Ontario is good? Because we've seen a lot in the past few years, we've seen a lot of drawback and conflict and stuff with education and everything like that. Teachers go on rapid fire strikes.
Right.
Some people saying virtual learning is not working for their children and everything like that. Then you got the sex ed talks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what about here in Ontario?
In Ontario, I think it's good. I don't think it's as good as it was. I think I've fallen behind in a lot of areas. I think the resources that the teachers need and that especially the public system, I think it needs a lot more resources in order to be more competitive with other systems around the world. So I think there was a lot of improvement there, but overall, I think it's still a solid system. It's just that it needs a lot of resources right now, and they're having a lot of trouble getting it from the government.
Right. Right. I always look at it as homeschooling. I think just that one-on-one, that focused education. I always looked at it as a good thing, but I always think of the social aspect. I mean, a lot of times when you're in a system of like a public school system, or in that regard, it's not just the education that you're getting, but also you're learning how to deal with other people, how to maneuver yourself within a room of people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, not everybody is going to be a bag of roses, right? Like, you might not experience that homeschooling, and then you leave your house, you run into the first asshole, and you don't know how to handle yourself, or you don't know how to conduct yourself. So I always looked at it as I would prefer homeschooling, but I would also like my child to be able to be a part of something, like whether it's like a sports team, or you know, going out to like an art class where there's other people where they can share ideas. And because I may not, or the person at home may be able to teach them something, but there's other minds, right, that express other things and other ways of learning things they may miss out on.
I agree with that. I think there's something to be said, you know, the camaraderie that you build, you know, with classmates as you go off from grade to grade. You know, that's something that a lot of students in Ontario in particular have lost with the strikes and the pandemic and stuff like that. You know, you have a lot of students that are really wishing that they could have been a part of something like that. So, yeah, I think that's a great point.
Because I always look at it where, like, especially when the strike and that pandemic and stuff came in.
Right.
When the virtual learning, I felt bad for the graduating classes because, that's kind of like your last bit, touch the school. You're like, not going to be here anymore, stuff, whatever. You had a virtual graduation for those beginning parts of the pandemic. And then I look at it stuff as where, for myself, like when I was in 8th grade, that's when I had my first kiss. So I'm looking like, now it's all virtual and everything like that. Right. How does that...
Ain't no virtual kisses on there.
I mean, there's a cam. You can probably just get off on it, but I mean,
I haven't seen one yet.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that kind of like, I want to say more that teenage lifestyle that I'm used to.
Yeah.
I just thought that for me, maybe it might be just my opinion and stuff, but I just felt like most teenagers and stuff that grew up in like in the city would probably go through these type of like trials and tribulations and stuff about like social gatherings and mix and mingling and stuff like that, right?
Right.
And then you have this duration of stuff where they were doing nothing like that, and certain families didn't want to crossbreed over households and everything. Then you had the strikes when they came in afterwards, and it's kind of like, I don't know where the social dynamic is for the kids, because I look at it where people don't talk no more. All they do is this, or they do is this.
Right.
So I'm like, most of them can't hold the conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like your teenage years help mold your adult years and stuff, whatever, to a high degree.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more of an indictment of that educational system. If homeschooling is really popular, what does that say about the educational system in that area, to the point where parents feel more comfortable schooling their own children as opposed to putting them through the educational system?
Well, because I think about it, like, I think worst case scenario, you have worlds that will combat. Like, let's say if you come from a modest, like, Christian Catholic kind of household, this sex ed thing to your child, depending on the grade level, they might get it and stuff. They might not be for that because I guess in the Christian world or this household and stuff, whatever, it's more, I want to say, not really spoken about until I guess a specific kind of age.
Right.
And the school's like, you're going to take it now.
Right. Yeah.
So like, that's what like the combat and stuff and like the push will happen. But I always feel bad and stuff, whatever, where yes, the kids don't know too much exactly, because you ask the kid, what do you want to eat? I don't know. They don't have no definitive decision and stuff like that, whatever. But us as adults or guardians and stuff like that are supposed to help guide them. So if now the parents are saying like, well, I want to guide my kid to learn about this thing a little later and everything like that. I remember there used to be a paper people used to sign when I went to school.
Right.
Your parents would sign yay or nay, and they probably put you in the auditorium and you guys probably watch some other shit.
Right.
While everybody else stuff is like, oh, you missed you missed that.
Where were you?
Yeah, you guys watching porn? No, but we saw a dick, we saw a vagina.
Yeah.
So that, like, I see the clash and stuff, because, and then some parents and stuff, they're not, I want to say, pro, let's say, like LGBT.
Right.
So then now with some of those discussions coming up and everything like that, then that's it. Look at the hockey player, Ivan for Philly.
Right. Yeah.
Like, he's like, this goes against my religion and what I stand for.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not wearing a jersey.
Yeah. You know, to me, it's like I went through the Catholic system too, and also the public system. And, you know, I remember as a kid, I always felt that, you know, the youth, kind of short-shifting the youth. We tend to short-shift the youth and underestimate their intelligence.
Facts.
You know, the kids are very smart these days. I mean, they know what's going on way before a lot of parents do. And I have a feeling that, you know, when it comes to subjects like sex and gender, they know what's going on, more knowledgeable than a lot of the parents who are hesitant to look into these things. So, I think they talked about sex in like grade 7 or grade 8 or something like that. And I just remember knowing way more than that earlier. I mean, Porky's was on like 5 years before that.
Yeah.
And
good old Porky's.
It really explained a lot of things
right.
way before the textbook did. And, you know, that was a Catholic school. I mean, so I think the kids will be fine. Like, they're dealing with a lot of things, but they're also very knowledgeable. And, I personally don't have a problem with them learning these kind of things a little earlier than maybe I did, because quite honestly,
the world is different.
It is. Times have changed, and these things come a lot earlier in society.
Of course. Yeah. I remember like back then like if they show like a TV, like a movie that came out in the movie theater, but they kind of want to water it down and put it on TV and everything,
Right.
like, they would probably cut some of those bootleg sex scenes.
You're talking about like
Right.
great movies.
Yeah. And then now and stuff, whatever, it's like full Monty.
Yeah.
On regular
Yeah.
TV, I'm looking like, oh shit, my, how the tables have turned.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about city TV, like great movies. They would cut out the nudity and some of the parts, and then they had
Baby Blue?
They had the Baby Blue era where
Good times, by the way.
where you could see more stuff, and to the point where you can go on the internet and everything is there. Everything is there.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, I'm all for kids learning, as early as they can, because I give them the credit. They are very intelligent, and I would trust them that they would be able to navigate their way through that, just as they are navigating through a lot of other things right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair. That's fair.
Also, I think it would be good if it's done in a professional setting and they're getting that type of education. Like you're saying, like you can't fool them nowadays. You know what I mean? And parents will try and take the approach where they'll say something and maybe in a discouraging way to try and discourage them from that, and they'll be like, no, that's not how it goes. It is, so it's not like you can get anything past them nowadays.
No.
If you're afraid, like we spoke about this before, where parents may be afraid to speak to their kids about certain things,
Right.
or may not know how to address certain things.
Right.
So they just avoid the talk altogether, right? And which leads into problems. So I agree. If they're in school and they can get that education in school, then they're learning everything else in school. Why would you want to stop there?
I don't know, but in today's time, they learn everything from TikTok or social media and stuff like that, right? And then we got to look at the validity of these things and stuff, and how accurate are these things and stuff. Because as kids and stuff, whatever, they're more absorbed into the technology compared to like most of their parents and stuff and everything like that, or their grandparents.
Right.
So now they might be absorbing a ton of false information when the parent and stuff might be trying to combat them and stuff with like some facts and stats that they might know of like their time.
Right.
Like, no, it's not like that. In today's time, it's this. And then here lies another problem.
Yeah.
Right? So I look at it stuff as that, do the parents have the time to put the time in and have these discussions and everything like that with their kids to kind of like, let's say, discern this is real and this is not? And if it's not, this is part of the reason why I guess most parents depended on the teachers.
That's right.
Right? Because the teacher's looking like, you're paid to inform my child with hopefully the proper and stable information. But then you and I, we had another episode where we talked about, do teachers have their own political agenda? So if teachers have their own political agenda and stuff, whatever, it's going to be like, fuck what they teach you at home. You're going to know this.
Yeah.
I.e. prosthetic titty teacher, right?
Right.
Because I'm looking at them like, when are they going to learn? Like, they're definitely going to be distracted
Yes.
by your aesthetic, right? But I'm like, you have an agenda to push. And then the trans agenda was pushed and stuff with this. I was like, it was like a shop class or something like that.
Shop
and I was
class.
like, what does that have to do with shop? Like,
Yeah.
so the agenda to push. So, like I said, I can understand both sides. I can understand both sides. That teachers are being underpaid, and then the parents and stuff are looking like, I'm giving you my child. Please bless them with proper information and stuff that can help them need. And but then again, some of the schools, they're not giving them the things that they really need in adult life. They're giving you like home ec died. I realized home ec died.
Yeah.
And then now we're looking at stuff at a generation of kids and stuff that only know Uber Eats. Yeah, because home ec died.
Right. Yeah.
So that's that song and dance we're going through now.
It's a dicey situation.
It's dicey. All right. So you said combat sports.
Combat sports.
Who's the greatest boxer to you? Your top boxer.
Wow. I have to go traditional. I'd have to say Sugar Ray Robinson.
Sure.
It's funny because when you said that, his name popped in my head first.
Sugar
Ray.
first?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think growing up,
Yeah.
he was the fighter of the day. So like everybody in school wanted to be like Sugar. You know what I mean? Sugar Ray Leonard. They wanted that, fighting and like, yeah. That was the first person that came to my mind. He was the first notable boxer to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sugar Ray Robinson was the man, as you said. He was like, he was the guy that the girls wanted to be with, and he was the guy that the guys wanted to be. So, he had the flash, he had the cash, he had the style, he had the substance, and be able to put it together in an entertaining package for a long time. And then, obviously, if you go to the heavyweights, there's Muhammad Ali, there's a number of guys that. Floyd Mayweather just recently is, a lot of people like to give the nod to Floyd, but
I was about to give it to Floyd because my thing is that if I'm comparing the Sugar Ray that I remember compared to Floyd and everything, Sugar Ray had more flair in his fights. Yeah, but then if we're looking at like technicality and everything like that, I give it to Floyd, right? And then much as when everybody wants to watch a champion fall.
Yeah.
Right. It's like people just line up to watch the Titanic sink.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, is this the fight Floyd's going to lose? Is this the fight Floyd's going to lose? And then he just overcomes adversity. And then you're looking like, this is how you prove you're great.
Yeah.
And much less like minimum losses and stuff. This is where we're looking at now, right?
I think Floyd just might be the best businessman in boxing.
Oh, definitely.
To be able to command $100 million per fight, and to, like you said, to build that audience to where people are paying just to see you lose. Potentially, or just get beat up, touched up, knocked down. That's very interesting. But he went up 50-0, I believe. What was it? 50-0. But those last couple of fights, when he fought Conor McGregor, I mean, Conor McGregor was a great MMA champion, a great UFC champion, and obviously one of the great lightweights, featherweights of all time. But he didn't have a boxing fight going into that fight, and I was wondering how that fight got sanctioned. A guy going in there with literally no boxing experience, going up against the greatest of his era at the very least.
Facts.
To me, that fight kind of tarnished that greatest ever for me. I mean, if he had gone out fighting at least some of the top guys at that time, I think he would have a stronger hold. But those last couple of fights seemed very calculated.
Handpicked, yeah.
To the point where you knew he was going to beat Conor McGregor. You knew he was going to beat those last couple of guys that he fought.
Did you know he was going to beat Pacquiao?
I thought he was going to beat Pacquiao. And then, there's still a lot of stuff around that fight still. I mean, it was a long time ago, but how long it took that fight to go together. Was that shoulder injury with Pacquiao real?
He's afraid of the needle.
Well, yeah, the testing. Pacquiao didn't want to get tested, so that's why the fight took so long. I give the nod to Floyd in that respect, because I do believe that overall he wanted to get that fight in. It just took a long time, and then by that time, they were both older. But I still think Floyd would have won 5 years before that fight took place.
I agree.
Yeah.
I also believe that Floyd is the best defensive fighter of all time.
Yeah.
When it comes to defense, making guys miss, I think he is the best. It's just that, offensively, as time went on, when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, that was unbelievable. He had like the mix of offense and defense. He was like,
he had power behind his
punches. He was Pretty Boy Floyd.
Right.
And then he got smarter and said, okay, well, these guys can't hit me. Well, why do I need to? I just do my thing, and then, play keep away, and just then became money. And he was more of a calculated business guy, more defensive, technical. The guys like Manny, they had to show that they could go in there and touch him, and obviously no one really could.
Right.
So, yeah.
Dream fight. Who was your ultimate dream fight?
My dream fight, and
dead or alive?
Dead or alive? I would say, I just think of the quote that you guys had. I I saw one of your shirts there in a previous episode. I think it was like, your ego is not your amigo.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I was just thinking of John Jones and Anderson Silva. That is my dream fight.
I would pay for the pay-per-view for that.
That sounds like
I would spend the money for that.
That sounds like a match.
You know,
both healthy?
Both healthy in their prime.
Yeah.
You know, that would be an amazing fight. You know, as you both know, John Jones, 6'4" with an 84-inch arm reach. You know, he can knock you out. He can open the car door without having to get out of the driver's seat, passenger seat. It's like Phil Jackson could in basketball, but it's just unbelievable to deal with that kind of length, and then the skill set to be, he can take the fight anywhere. Yeah. And then you go with Anderson Silva, Bruce Lee, and be able to knock you out so many different ways. The striking unparalleled. Even on the ground, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He can choke you out. He can hoist grace you. Those two styles clashing together. Unfortunately, we never saw it in the UFC, but I would definitely pay to see that anywhere.
Yeah, that sounds like a dream fight and a half.
What about you?
I would want to see Ali in his prime versus Tyson.
Ali and Tyson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. The power of Tyson versus the.
I was about to say. Like, Mike had power in his
But that's the thing, right?
Like
Mike. I remember watching. I can't remember what fight it was, or who Ali was fighting, but they had Ali in the corner. And
I've seen that clip. I've seen that clip.
He's just swinging, and Ali, he's just.
Yeah, that's right.
Dancing, pausing a little bit, smiling. Then go back to dancing, then come out the rings with firing, right? And I was like, yeah, but
and
how much can you dance?
He was past his prime in that clip too.
Yeah. But how much can you dance if Tyson catches you just once?
That's the thing.
Just once.
That's the thing. But then again, he did fight Foreman, and that was an unbelievable
thing.
Foreman had power.
And he fought Ernie Shavers, who was considered one of the top hardest punchers of all time, and he won that fight. So you would think that Ali would have the smarts to deal with that kind of power.
True. Yeah, because I think the thing is the intellect. Ali always walked in before he walked in.
Right.
He's letting you know you ain't shit. He's the best. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. This is before you even touch the ring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Before you touch the arena.
Yeah.
So he's already psychologically getting to you and stuff for that, as much as he's using his brain in the ring.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So I feel like that would be a hell of a thing. But then Mike just sees red.
Yeah.
Especially young Mike just saw red. He went in there. Boom, boom, boom. Buster Douglas was a different situation.
Yeah.
I always blame women in Tokyo for that one.
Yeah.
Because they were doing something. I think the geishas were doing something with Mike. Because that fight, Mike wasn't Mike.
No, he wasn't.
And I still can't pinpoint how exactly Buster Douglas and stuff, whatever, beat Mike.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what? And even after that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. No, but it depends, because if Mike had the, Customato with him and all those guys to keep him on the straight and narrow going against Ali, then it would be a lot closer fight because those guys would have Mike ready.
Right, because Cuss was going through his health things and stuff at that time, right?
When Cuss died, and all those guys, that's when he kind of really fell apart. And
of course,
he had the power still, but he didn't have the strategy. He didn't have the smarts. He just went in there and bowled over everybody. So, that Tyson from 85 to 88, where he was he wasn't just knocking out guys, but he would slip the punch and then catch you.
Yeah.
He was so technical at that time. He would do everything so beautifully. That Tyson, wow, that would be a lot closer fight.
Nice. I think for me, I would go with Sugar Ray and Floyd.
Sugar Ray and Floyd. That would be a nice fight too.
Sugar Ray and Floyd. The battle of the pretties.
Yeah.
And we'll see who comes off and stuff from there. But UFC, I would choose the Anderson and Bones. Because I have a thing and stuff, whatever, that Anderson, like, let's say prior to the injury,
Right.
he's decimating everybody.
He was.
It's like, I think Vegas and stuff, they're probably like, all right, everybody's going to bet on Silva.
Yeah.
So he was just that, I want to say, precise with everything that he was doing.
He was.
But then Bones, he has that reach.
He has the reach. He's taller than Anderson.
That reach and them striking, the strike, like, the Dalsim thing, like you were saying, like, it's facts.
Yeah.
So that's where I sit with that.
And, to Sugar Ray and Floyd, I'm kind of lean towards Floyd there a little bit because the defensive prowess that Floyd would have, I think he can make Sugar Ray miss. I think he can make him miss. Now, the question is, would he be able to offensively put something in Sugar Ray's face? But I think he could. I think he would get up for that fight, and I think he would be determined to prove that he could do it.
Yeah.
I think Floyd would take him, like, I want to say, 5th round. He'll start having his way. Because Floyd, much just like this ending Floyd, he watches and waits. Right. So he's trying to see what you're coming with and all the above. And I think normally around the 3rd or 4th round, that's when you start seeing the stamina start to zap away from certain people, right? And then this is where Floyd starts to make his attack.
Yeah.
So I think with Sugar Ray, he might have that beginning aspect and stuff where he can but I don't. How long could that agility go? Because we both know, like, Floyd can do the distance, right. So we know that he can do the distance and everything. But Sugar Ray, he can too. But normally his fights and stuff tend to tap out like the 8th, 9th round. So I was like, Floyd. Multiple times we see him go all the way to the end. So I was like, I got Floyd.
Plus, I think Sugar Ray knocked out one of Floyd's brothers. So I think Floyd would want revenge there.
Okay. How do you feel about the Dana White situation?
Yeah, Dana White is like...
did you cover it on your side?
I did. And a few media organizations covered it. And, Dana White is like Teflon Don, like he's the gatekeeper of combat sports. Like he's the guy that really keeps everything going. The UFC is still the biggest combat sports organization in the world. Right. For and this is their 30th anniversary this year. So for him to get caught on video in a Mexican nightclub in a physical altercation with his wife, both of them slapping each other, obviously it's not a good look for him. It's not a good look for the sport. And the UFC's silence on the matter, not even disciplining him and just letting him basically do a press conference talking about it. I didn't agree with that. Okay. I thought that he should have been disciplined. At the very least, do some PSAs about it, a suspension, something to...
Right. See, and I know him for giving the second chances, because when there was somebody else beside, and Bones had his domestic violence situation and stuff. Whatever. So when that took place, I was scratching my head. I was like, a lot of times they kind of wrote Bones out for the situation, but then he got the second chance. Right? And their situation was really caught like on video, like how this one was, because everybody like, it's Dana White. We're to keep our phones up, and they're just recording and everything like that, and everything kind of took place. I was just looking at stuff as where punishment wise, I wasn't too sure with that, but I was like, what do you do? Because this is now you're the face of a brand, and much less he's coming with the slap fighting thing now too. Be like, is this promotion? But
I kind of wondered there. If it was just a setup for the power slap, but. That's what he said too. What are they going to do? I go away for 2 weeks. Then what? I come back. It hurts the fighters. It hurts everyone. It hurts their livelihood. So, but still, I know a PSA or something like that. Some sort of acknowledgement that what happened was not a good look. In my opinion, would have been. Is necessary because if you just say nothing, you don't do anything, you pretend it didn't happen, then it just looks like something's being swept under the rug.
Facts.
And it's just being glossed over. And as you said, when a fighter does something wrong, what happens?
shut down.
Right away, they get disciplined.
And,
there's a fine, a suspension, there's something. There's a code of conduct that the fighters have to follow. There's a UFC code of conduct. If they don't follow it, they get consequences. So it just felt like there was no consequences, official consequences in this case.
What about you?
No, I think that he should have came forth and said. I mean, he did do an apology, but again, it wasn't like it was an official thing. You know what I mean? It was more like somebody's questioning him, and he's so haphazard, just spit it out, and then it's, okay, well, I apologized. I said sorry to her. I said sorry to my wife. I said sorry to you guys. Let's move on, type of deal, right? It's like exactly what you're saying, like just kind of like brushing it off, like it wasn't really anything. We shouldn't be focusing on this. Like, why are we focusing on this, dude? Because you're the face of a league. And again, and I thought the same thing after just watching. I think it was an IG post where they were talking how they were giving Dana slack for this whole slap boxing thing, and I was like, I said, wait a sec, he has a league that's actually doing slapping. And then I was like, okay, well, if it wasn't planned, sure, it was a heck of a timing, but
conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, it was just, I don't think, I think it's just ironic that it happened so close to the power slapping thing. But, with Dana White's response, and, I don't really, I mean, obviously I blame Dana White. I mean, those actions are undefensible.
Right.
But, he did talk to TMZ, he did apologize, in his, brash, candid way. Yeah, I did it. I'm sorry. He said what he had to say in order for him to get past it. But I really put the blame more on the UFC. I mean, they didn't. they just did nothing. They're just silent.
Right.
So, when you're silent, I mean, what do you expect Dana or someone else in that position to do? I mean, they're just going to do it however they want. So
fun.
But I'm sure the power slap ratings are quite good now.
I think the power slap things are gonna definitely jump. I think not because of Dana's situation and stuff, but I think the fact that it's been kind of, I guess, a Russian thing, and then now it went to, I guess, different countries and different places. So then now they're finally getting to capitalize it, and now TV. When before it was kind of like a random social media thing. You probably had to go on YouTube to find these things and stuff. Now you're gonna have people who were in the UFC or are in the UFC just say like, you know what, I'm gonna save the rest of the body.
Yeah,
bring it to the face, and then they take it from there and stuff. And I see people like get clapped and get KO'd and everything like from a slap. So I was like, this might be in the UFC's kind of landscape.
Yeah.
I got to admit, the marketing was pretty compelling, like very similar to how the UFC came out. But I just see some problems with the power slap because, with combat sports, you're defending yourself. You have the ability to defend yourself at all times, and you're supposed to. But with the power slap, you got to sit there and you got to take that slap. And I saw, like you said, a couple of them. The guy's face was drooping, and there could be all kinds of medical problems that could result from this.
Well, they're talking possible CT. Was it CTC? Was it the football? What is it?
CTE.
CTE.
Yeah.
CTE.
With the slapping.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah, because it's very jarring, right?
I don't doubt that. If you get somebody with like some Conan the Barbarian kind of arm strength that he just gives you like a Thundercats hole across your face. Like,
because it's not really a slap at that point. It's like an empty hand, and that hand going into that facial nerve which is the bread and butter of your keeps your face the way it is. I mean,
I seen one slap. It was a shorter dude and a taller dude, and it was the shorter dude's turn, and he looked like he was getting ready to throw a discus. You know how they do the wind ups. So I guess there's a countdown. You have a certain time period to release your slap.
Okay.
So he's like the opponent's taller, so he's coming from down and coming up like this. So he's measuring everything, and by the time he gets to his third pullback and unleashes his hands, this guy just falls like a ton of bricks. And I'm like,
oh, big guy.
The big guy just falls like a ton of bricks. I'm like, this could be very damaging if you're not.
All of it could be very damaging.
If you're not bracing yourself properly. I mean, I don't know if there's a certain technique that you do when you're absorbing the hit.
Yeah.
But it's just like you're saying, like, I've just been seeing people just get knocked out.
Yeah.
I've seen this one girl get knocked out, stand back up, do the stanky leg, then drop back down, get up. The referee had to grab her. And
I saw that one. Yeah. And just from a personnel standpoint, if like you got to find people to take these slaps. I mean, it's an up and coming sport, so I guess they might just have the bare minimum. But if people keep slapping out like that, I mean, how are you going to find people?
Yeah.
Would you do that?
Oh no, oh no. I'm not.
What if the price was right?
Well, it depends, I guess.
That's
everyone's got their price.
Everybody's got their price.
Everybody has a price.
$1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Everyone's got their price.
Money.
No, if you're feeding a family and they'll say, okay, here's $1 million, tax free. You got they get the biggest guy, one slap. I would probably do it.
Why you say the biggest guy? Like, when you say the biggest guy, it's like a bead of sweat wanted to come down my head. Whatever, like, I'll do it for the mill.
You do it for the mill?
I'll do it for the mill.
Right.
Because we're going to do it on the mill. We're going to do it on cam and everything like that, whatever. But I'm the first person to think about when you said bigger guy, I thought about, like, is the mountain from the Game of Thrones? I was like, him and me, I was like, duck down, like
you might not get to spend that $1 million.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, next thing you know, you got to push me out in a wheelchair. I'm looking like Professor X or something like that going around. What happened? The slap though, but I got this decked out wheelchair. Right. Like you're like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, though. I mean, you got to weigh certain things,
Pros and cons.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, the power. We now have the power slap. It's just unbelievable.
So. I have a question. Have you ever been in combat sports before? Participated?
Never participated. I was a soccer player growing up, so I was more into to soccer. But I did have some cousins who were into boxing. Most notably was Sean Garnett. He was called the Heat. He was a boxer that kind of had a little bit of a run in the early 2000s there.
Okay.
I think he was the WBC Latino champion at one point, one of those regional belts there.
Yeah. Nice.
And he was main eventing the Bell Center at the time.
Okay.
So he was one of the up and coming Canadian boxers at the time with Steve Molitor. All those guys were doing their thing. But me, no. I just like to cover it. I'm a writer, not a fighter.
I like that.
Well played. So what's your inspiration for you? Why combat sports?
Well, I grew up watching it. I mean, I was a big wrestling fan growing up as a kid. I hope you guys were too.
We all.
So, Macho Man coming off the top rope, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, all those things, I was a big time wrestling fan and, I actually got into combat sports through the side door, which is wrestling. There was a media organization called Canoe. I believe they're still going. They're part of, they're part of Sun Media, the Toronto Sun group.
Right.
And they're part of Post Media now, one big giant group. And they had a wrestling section there. And I was able to get in there as a writer, writing stories about the wrestlers because wrestling was a huge part of their readership.
Right.
Everyone liked to read the stories about the wrestlers and the results. WWE, Toronto was a huge wrestling town. It still is.
Right. Yeah.
So I was able to get in there, and I would interview the wrestlers. From a journalistic point of view. So shout out to Slam Wrestling there, and Greg Oliver, who was the producer there. He took me under his wing and really showed me how to get to the journalistic side, tell the wrestler's story, and expose that side as opposed to just Macho Man beat Hulk Hogan by countout, or just the basic
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
So through there, I learned how to write, and then from there, I got to Post Media, and they needed their editors. I was an editor at the time. They needed ideas or blogs for Canada.com, which was their flagship internet site.
Okay.
So that's where I came up with MMA Crossfire, because no one there was really doing it, and I thought that was an opportunity to cover that. And so I covered it as best as I could, and I just started from there.
Nice.
Well said. Nice.
And it was great because no one was really doing it, and MMA at that time was not really popular mainstream. It wasn't really mainstream yet.
When was this?
This was like 2009.
Okay.
So at the time, MMA was still banned in Ontario and a lot of Canadian provinces. Only Quebec and BC.
Right, because the GSP fights used to happen in
Montreal.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's why they were there, because they couldn't hold them anywhere else. So, it was still banned. It was only in 2010 that after a lot of people protesting and trying to show the government that, hey, this is you better get on board because you're losing a lot of money. Essentially,
Right. Yeah.
That convinced the McGuinty government at that time to change the law and allow combat sports, and so that's gave birth to UFC 129. Which became the biggest Canadian UFC event.
I remember that.
55,000 people in the Rogers Center seeing GSP take on Jake Shields for the welterweight title. And then once everyone saw how big it was, then it just started growing and it started branching out. More provinces started to allow combat sports, and then they actually had to. They actually went a step further and got the government to actually permanently change the law so that someone couldn't go back and just say, oh, well, because
we tried it.
Yeah.
And
we don't like it anymore. We don't agree with this, because it was based on someone's opinion. Okay, I don't like this. This is combat sports. I don't like this. The definition was very subjective. So someone in there could use that to say, no, we're not going to allow this. So they changed the law about a couple of years after to make sure that it was actually allowed and no one could go back in and use any subjectivity to change the law.
Okay.
And
that's very interesting. As far as martial arts goes, sometimes you'll have full contact and you'll have non-full contact. Was full contact any of an issue in Canada, or?
Yeah, I think they didn't like the fact that they had the perception of the early UFC years, like when there was very little rules and that there was no weight divisions.
Right.
The safety of the fighters was an issue with a lot of the commissions, the Canadian commissions, and in the United States they basically equated it to human cockfighting. That was the perception that MMA had for the longest time.
Yeah.
You put two guys in there and just lock the door and that's it. And
well, if anything, the sponsors would kind of be the owners of the birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there was that perception that it was just it was unadulterated violence, and then you had a lot of parents who there's just a lot of misunderstanding about what the sport actually was, which was really to ask the main question: what if a karate guy fought a wrestling guy, or a Muay Thai guy fought a Taekwondo guy?
Right.
What would happen? That was the main question. That was how MMA came about. That's what the Gracies tried to answer when they came up with the UFC. And so, as it became more popular, the UFC smartly got the government regulation involved so that rules could be done and that regulation about the safety of the fighters could be incorporated so that people could see, okay, it's not just human cockfighting. These fighters are skilled. Yeah. They're competing. They're not just trying to knock each other's block off. Right. There are weight divisions, so a 150-pound guy is going to fight a 150-pound guy. It's not going to be a 400-pound guy.
Does that include the slap boxing league?
Well, the slap fighting is still in its infancy, so I'm not sure.
Have to go against the mountain.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the rules are there, but with MMA, they quickly realized that weight divisions needed to be done because weight matters when you're in combat, and just like boxing, they have those divisions, and so they quickly incorporated a lot of rules to not only make it safer for the fighters, but for that the general public could see that it was an actual combat sport.
Right. Got it.
Pertaining to your blog, where do you see, I'm going to say, the trajectory of it going and the awareness and stuff like that? Because I'm assuming and stuff just like kind of like similar with us. Right. With us, we kind of look at like, if you land here or you stumble upon the show, you're going to love it and you're going to stay.
Right.
Is that the same appeal and stuff there for your blog and stuff? Like, are you trying to convince them to like you, what you just said and stuff? If I'm a mom and I'm looking at it and stuff like, do I feel comfortable watching this with my child?
Right.
After everything you just said and stuff, whatever, it doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Because but again, like if you're sold on like the previous dreams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Human cockfight,
Yeah.
So with your blog, is that what you try to like express along with your critiques and everything and stuff as well?
Right. I try to take a journalistic approach with MMA Crossfire. Our motto is "Dare to be different." So, when you go out there, a lot of sites cover the actual sport, in terms of the events, like UFC 283. This is what happened. And a lot of websites also cover a lot of the issues in the sport, which we like to do as well. But we like to take it a step further, and we like to cover related aspects and issues. So, there's a lot of actors and personalities that like combat sports, and they like to share their thoughts and opinions. There's a lot of movies out there that incorporate a lot of martial arts and related things.
Never back
so
down.
We interview a lot of actors and actresses. We like to cover a lot of the movies that come out and showcase them because they have a lot of martial arts and a lot of martial artists that they hire for those movies. So we like to cover everything that has some kind of relation to it. And, I think that helps us with our readership because, we're not just a North American readership. We have, it's all across the world, the United Kingdom, Thailand, Japan, Australia.
Oh, that reaches
far. And, it just shows us that not only is there a lot of interest in martial arts, but martial arts touches just about everything out there. There's, you don't have to be at the fight. You don't have to like fighting. But if you like, if you like Kill Bill or you like Black Panther, and you can see a lot of martial arts in those movies. And if you can read a story about one of those actors in those movies, chances are you might read something else. And so we like to cover all aspects, including female aspect. I mean, there's female fighting has grown so much in the last 10 years. I mean, you all know Ronda Rousey, who is now like a household name now. But
I've seen her in a League of Legends commercial.
Yeah, she's done movies. She's done everything.
Video games. I'm like, good for her.
Yeah.
She was doing. She was like one of the most popular people in the world during her run there. So she really helped inspire a lot of females get into the sport to the point where now it is an actual career option. Like, you don't have to starve and like train and then hope that you might be able to get a fight. Now there are actually leagues, female leagues like Invicta FC, that they can compete in and grow their skills and then move up to the UFC, which now has a lot of female divisions.
Right.
I mean, so it took
that fight last night. That That one girl,
Jessica Andrade and Lauren Murphy. That was a beatdown.
Jessica was more built than me, man. Yeah, Jessica had pecs.
Jessica is a tank, and
okay, all right,
she's a tank, and I got to give credit to Lauren Murphy there. She was tough as nails to decision there.
Man,
but she came
out looking like a hobbit.
Yeah,
but, she held her own though.
She was, she's very tough, but that just showcases the elevation of the sport, because at one point it was just Ronda Rousey, and that was pretty much it, or Cyborg. But now you have the strawweight division, you have the flyweight division, you've got the bantamweight division, which was Ronda's division.
Right.
You've got the featherweight division, 145 pounds. You've got the lightweight division, 155. So there's, and then you've got one championship in Asia. You've got Bellator. You've got the PFL now, which is very huge, getting Clarissa Shields involved. The greatest female boxer of right now, undisputed in 2 weight divisions, trying her hand in MMA. That's just unbelievable what we're seeing. So that's what we try to cover, those things. People who are doing things, people with a story to tell, tend to that's what we like to try to cover.
Nice. Do you talk about the pay gaps? Is there a pay gaps between female fighters and male fighters? Is that a discrepancy over there? I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, there's always because the UFC is really 30 years old, and it's the 30th anniversary, and so
is that rookie to you? Is that young?
Well, how old is the NBA?
Well, NBA's been around this stuff. If we're counting
how old is boxing?
Hundreds
of years.
Yeah. Hundreds.
And so when you look at those organizations that have many more years to
but
deal with.
Dodgeball is rookie.
Oh, well, there you go. I hear Dodgeball is coming up big time.
Dodgeball is coming up in the game.
They had that movie, that Dodgeball movie.
After that, everything, it's serious out there. They wear headgears, goggles, and...
I used to be good at Dodgeball. I think my time was I came up a little too early, because I could have been a dodgeballer, man. But, when you're coming up, those guys were getting peanuts, Hoist Gracie and all those guys.
Yeah, right,
Dan Severn. They were getting peanuts to go in there and take somebody's head off. And then now the next level, a little bit more, next level, a little bit more. And it always takes someone like a Conor McGregor or Ronda Rousey to really bust the door open for everybody, because they get the top dollar, and then everybody kind of like a trickle-down effect. Everyone kind of moves up there a little bit. Like when Tiger Woods burst on the scene, the salaries that the golfers were getting before Tiger came on compared to when Tiger's winning the majors at the Tiger Slam and all of that is
Yeah, I heard. Is it Jack Nicholson? Not
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah,
he was saying something like that and stuff, whatever too, because he was ending his career before Tiger started doing his thing.
Right.
And then he was saying, I think he had a conversation and stuff, but I guess along those lines, and he's looking like, Nike never looked our way when we were doing it, for years and everything. He's like, well, the game has done changed. Oh, yeah. What I like about, let's say, MMA, that world, is that, let's say, part of the issue that people have with the WNBA and NBA and everything and stuff is that the seasons and stuff are kind of apart from each other.
Right.
Well, in MMA and stuff like that, you're gonna see on the scorecard there's gonna be a female fighter, a female fight,
right,
going on and stuff for there. So it's kind of like, we're in here together,
right?
So we're and let's say, I guess there's kudos to Dana White or anybody and stuff behind him, his team and stuff, but it's kind of like we're bringing everybody or what we deem fit, and you as, let's say, buyer or organization wanting to watch it and everything like that, you're gonna take what we give you,
right,
and same thing you're saying. So if you have top dogs getting this money, this trickle down effect, so it's still kind of good.
It's still good because. Unfortunately, the one thing in MMA, there's no union, right? There's no union.
Right. I heard Francis saying some stuff about that recently.
The other organizations. So, it's very difficult when you have a sport that traditionally has really not had a union. It's up to you as the fighter to go in there and negotiate know your net worth and to negotiate it with the company.
Right.
To just have everyone band together. And form the union. They've tried many times to do it, but it just hasn't taken effect. And would a union help? Perhaps, maybe it would help the lower fighters that are not making as much money. But I think eventually, you as a fighter have to understand what your net worth is, and you have to have the acumen to negotiate to get what your net worth is. Because if you don't, I don't care if the union is there or not. Eventually, you're going to have to know, because as you move up, if you're only getting 50% or 60% of what your worth is,
that's the you thing.
It's on you. You're the one who's going to be losing, and the union can only do so much at that point. So, that sort of thing is always going to be an issue. But we do like to cover those things. We also like to cover things like photography. Like, there's a lot of things that go on outside of the cage. There's a lot of writers, journalists, photographers that give us those amazing shots. Like when I saw the shot of Glover just tagging Jamal Hill. Was like his face was like,
oh, when he hit him with the
it's like, you see the blood spattering in the
I wanted to see the table because Cormier, like, what did he say? He said our table's covered in blood and we're all covered in blood. I'm like, show the damn table.
Yeah, and I've been there. I mean, I've been there at press row where, and I have to go back to Couture when he got karate kicked by Machida. He got the karate kick, and I was sitting there in press row. It was just right in front of me, and his tooth came out through the cage, and the blood spattered right on me. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, you kept the shirt.
I had to keep the shirt. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a classic.
Now you need an autograph to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, but Randy, took it like a champion. He got back up, he walked out of the octagon, walked right past us, and it was just, he understood. I mean, it was his time. It was his last fight. He knew what could happen, and it happened, and he made his peace with it, and he was on his way. But we like to cover those things like photography, because those photographers in there, it takes a lot of work to get those shots.
Right.
All those things we see, like the pictures and all that. There's a lot of good photographers around the cage that make it work. And so
you guys highlight specific photographers and stuff like that, or like for their fights that they covered and everything too.
Yeah, we had a member. His name is Joseph. And he was the top photographer in the Eastern United States. So he would for the lower end promotions in the States, he would do all the fighters' photos and cover and shoot the events and stuff.
Right.
And so we got him to do a column on photography, how to take pictures and gear that you might want to look at. Basically, if you wanted to take pictures for yourself, this is how you would do it. So. He lent his knowledge and expertise on the subject, and it ended up being a great column for us. We also have wrestlers on there too. We had Sabu. I don't know if you know.
Back in the day.
Yeah, that's Sabu. Yeah,
the
hardcore wrestler.
Nice.
Yeah, we had his girlfriend who was also a wrestler, the Super Genie, Melissa Coates, do a column called the Super Genie Diary. And what they would do is they would document all their travels. So they would go to Japan and do a show, and they would peel the curtain back on what they were doing, how they were getting ready, and just kind of give the readers a bird's eye view of what it is behind the scenes going to these shows and stuff. So. That was also a column that we got a lot of crossover from wrestling fans over to check out what the Super Genie and Sabu were doing.
Nice.
So we like to think of ideas like that, and because like the crossover, like wrestling is so much more like MMA now, and vice versa. From the promos, like the fighters talk like the wrestlers now.
Right.
Like from Conor McGregor doing all those promos and stuff. They're trying to get themselves over, just like Macho Man was and Hulk Hogan was.
It was the best, man. Yeah, because, I mean, Hulk Hogan, I always said that's why when he came out with the whole racist thing, I'm like, he was always good with the ERs, whatever. He's like, look here, brother, I'm going to take you down, brother. And when I did with the leg drop, what you gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you? I'm like, oh shit.
The largest arms in the world, brother. What you gonna do?
Exactly. And now you have Conor McGregor and stuff, or people like him and stuff that are bringing that flair and that heat, because a lot of people and stuff, Conor McGregor was the face.
Right, yeah.
Was the face because he had this kind of flair about him, and then he let it be known, and then he talk his shit, and then he'll back it up.
Right.
That's what people want to see.
Yeah, you sell on the fight. I mean, you're selling the fight, and Conor was so great at it. He inspired an entire nation. Like Ireland before Conor. I mean, I didn't really thought much of Ireland before Conor McGregor. Like I knew where Ireland was. But
Ireland has a population of 4 million, and Toronto itself has a population of 3 million.
But after Conor, was like, wow, what's going on over there in Ireland? Like, you checking out all the fighters and see what's going on there. Like he just put Ireland on the map.
He put it on the map
by himself.
He put it on the map.
And so that ability to talk, ability to sell yourself. I mean, that comes really from wrestling. I mean, going way back in boxing. Gorgeous George. Being a favorite of Muhammad Ali. So Muhammad Ali borrowing from Gorgeous George. I mean, that's all that it all comes together.
Yeah. That's fair. All right, man. Good talk. Let's get to the question of the week. Are you ready for this? Let's hear where to go.
I'm ready.
Question of the week. What is the easiest way to ruin your life, in your opinion?
I'll go. Have too much of something.
Such as?
Well, it could be pleasure. It could be too much of a good thing. Too much of a good thing usually over time can be a bad thing. I'm thinking of, alcohol, drugs, that sort of thing. You get too comfortable. It becomes your best friend after a while, and before you know it, you're getting married. And
how did I get in Vegas? In Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, you're it's the weekend, and but you're thinking Tuesday. I mean, I got to go with that. Too much of a good thing.
Fair. What about you?
Overthinking the situation.
Overthinking the situation?
Yeah.
That will ruin your life?
Mm-hmm.
Fire away. Explain.
I think a lot of times if you reach a point where you have an answer, 9 times out of 10 for me, it's usually the right answer. And you just have some individuals who just can't roll with that, and they overthink it and move away from the right answer. And ending up probably just wrecking a good opportunity.
And they carry that over through the rest of their life? That one opportunity?
Some of them, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
For me, I want to say before all this fighting talk, I would have said like mismanaging your credit. Because I feel like credit is so essential and stuff in today's world.
Right.
That if you mismanage that, whatever, I think your life is damn near kind of fucked. And then you have to work so hard to kind of build it right back up to get to a late. Because now even like places, apartments, and all the type of stuff and everything, you need good credit. You need credit for people even just to look at you.
Yeah, yeah.
So now when I'm thinking about, like, I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and like they kind of like, my credit shit. I was like, that's not to be proud of. Like, we live in that world where we need this.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? But then when we were talking about all this fighting thing, I thought about fighting. Because I thought about not let's say combat sports, but I look at it like a disagreement could turn into a felony.
Right.
Like you and I and stuff, whatever, we can have a disagreement somewhere on the street and everything like that. And I might put my hands on you, and then you might hit your head on the curb, and then now you're dead and I'm in jail. And I was like, holy, it was just a disagreement. Like, it was just... So
right,
I feel like those things and stuff, whatever, but I get what you're coming from and stuff for sure. Yours and stuff, whatever. I feel like it'll hinder a person from doing what they got to do. Right. I don't think it'll ruin their life, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to the axis of what? You have more?
No, I was just thinking... Yeah, it was a good point.
Let's get to the Ask the Sons.
Ask the Sons.
First Ask the Sons of this week comes from Floppy Fish Cake. These names are killing me.
Shout out to Floppy.
Shout out to Floppy. Floppy says, what would you do if you had a vagina?
I'd introduce myself. Hi. How you doing?
I would see, and the question was so vague. But
Right.
I would hope like I don't have a vagina underneath this. If I do, then I probably just play with it for a bit. See what the shower head, what the hype is about with the shower head.
Yeah, it's like a new toy or something.
Yeah.
You forget the instruction manual, just go in there and just see how it works, and there you go.
Yeah, I always it's funny because you know when you're intimate with someone and they always ask you that question, how does it feel? And I always try to tell them, I always try to imagine how it feels for you, but in reverse.
How the hell is that? Okay. Go ahead. Finish.
Like imagine for us,
okay,
we have the feeling of filling up something. Right? The only other thing that when I'm looking at them, the only thing that they can feel is being filled up.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking like cream pie? Well, what if there's condoms involved?
Just actual act of penetration. Like,
okay.
I know what it feels like to be penetrated. I could only assume that it's the reverse feeling for you. So I guess if I have a vagina, I'd have to test that theory and see if it really makes sense.
I was with a woman, and she asked me that question.
Right.
And she said, what does it feel like when you orgasm? And I was like, I feel tingly and great. And then I was like, what does it feel like when you? And she's like, it feels like a symphony. And I was like, Jesus. I'm like, symphony? We're talking about like all the instruments, the flutes, all that. And she's like, yeah, it's like everything just firing off and stuff at once. I'm like, oh, ours just a guitar solo. Like I feel like it's more just a and it's a rap. But like when you're talking about like the penetration aspect and stuff, whatever, I don't really care to know how it feels like to be penetrated. So I'm gonna pass up on that.
I mean, if you had a vagina,
no, if I had a vagina, I'd be doing lip sync. I'd be finding another woman. We're doing lip sync, not scissoring, lip sync. Lip sync. We're gonna be lip syncing, and that's it.
That's it.
Sausage look like it hurts. I don't do dick.
Sausage probably does hurt.
Yes. Next question comes from Acon13. What is a scam that has been normalized by society?
I'll go. I think auto subscribing. Like like with the utilities or even like a service. Like you order a service, and then you like they say, okay, thank you for subscribing, but in order to cancel, the onus is on you to cancel. Otherwise, if you don't cancel, we're just going to keep billing you.
Yeah,
and that's it. So
and that sucks to consider the fact that like we lived, or I want to say we came from a time, let's say even like the 2000s, to go paperless.
Right.
Yeah.
I got hit with a bill, I think from punk ass Telus when I was with Telus at the time. I'm like, why am I still getting charged for like you guys sending me a bill? They were charging me $2. So I was like, they're like, oh, because you didn't go paperless. Paperless, you don't get any bill. We'll just email it to you. I'm like, so do that. Like, I have to tell you guys? So you guys are robbing me extra $2 a month just for it? I'm like, madness.
But the whole sending the paper, I never understood that. It just
yeah, the banks are a big sore point there. Also the gyms too. Like they get your banking information and they just deduct it. Like
they go for fun.
Yeah, like you cancel it, but if you don't make sure it's not canceled properly, that just comes right off, and there's not much you can do about it.
What I thought about this was insurance.
Insurance.
You and I had a conversation earlier in the week, him and I, talking about insurance and everything like that. Auto insurance, you need that for the road, but it's kind of like, let's say, life insurance.
Yeah.
If the person dies in a particular matter, it's a fight to get the money that you've paid so many
times
months and years into, and then they're fighting you tooth and nail just for you to kind of get it back.
Yeah.
I was like, but everybody's like, oh, you gotta have life insurance, you gotta have this insurance, you gotta have home insurance, you gotta have tenant insurance. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think insurance has been one of those long time classical scams there.
Yeah.
For me to be tap with your credit cards and your debit cards.
Tap.
Well,
yeah.
Why? Yeah.
Because now we're still in the I wouldn't say we're not still in the emergent stages of the technology itself, but it's at the point where almost everybody has it, right? And people know that you have it, right? I think we're gonna really start seeing a proliferation of scams, where if you're not buying yourself one of those special wallets, where
that blocks the signal,
that blocks the signal, a lot of people are gonna start getting ripped off and not know of it. It's one thing that, I mean, like some cards, if it gets used, you get an alert. But not a lot of people have that set up because they're not thinking in those regards. It's going to come to a point where you might be on a subway and 3 or 4 scammers might walk by you and hit you up. And you may not even know this until like your next statement.
That's true. Well, what about the cars now? People are stealing those cars now with the key fobs and all that.
Oh, the
stuff.
keys?
Yeah.
Like, wow, someone just go up on your porch and just get the signal somehow and then just amplify it. I don't know what they do. And then 2 minutes later, the car is running and it's stolen from your driveway.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Technology.
It's the world we live in.
Wow, guard your grill.
For real.
Guard your card.
Guard your card. Actually, that has a nice ring to it. Last one comes from Faku. Is it Faku? Is it Faku? What's previously a luxurious thing, but is now considered normal? For me, I got indoor toilets. I'm not a fan of those outhouses shits and stuff. I don't know how they did it back in the day, that type of stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think an indoor toilet, to me, I think is essential and vital.
Right.
But some people it depends on where they come from in the world. They don't have a problem copping a squat. Like,
yeah, it definitely wasn't a luxury back in the day. Like it was just a hole, and then it was, if you had wood, that was like that
was premium.
that was premium. Just a hole there, and then that was it.
What you got?
I got using your credit card shopping for groceries.
You couldn't use credit cards to shop for groceries back then.
You could, but it was considered taboo. It was like people looked at you if you flashed a credit card or you're shopping for groceries. It was like, what are you doing? Like, this is just groceries. Like, it was.
And now you're getting points for these
things. It was not. It was considered passé, and now, like you said, you can get points, and people are just flashing it out like it's just normal. But I remember quite vividly, it was a faux pas to use your credit card in the grocery store.
Yeah, back then he was like, you only use your credit card for major purposes.
You were judged a certain way. It was like you were poor. You had to pull out your credit card just to pay for your groceries.
Times is hard. Donate to the Negro Foundation.
Number's 55512.
I want to see how we consume music. I was like, at one point, we needed a Walkman. If you didn't have a Walkman, then you couldn't listen to your music on the go. Then we had MP3 players.
Yeah.
If you wanted to listen to your music on the go, now you needed an MP3 player.
Right.
Now you don't need anything but your phone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then it's like, that is like something that it wasn't a luxury that afforded to many.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You're right, because you're absolutely right, because I remember the phone, the main purpose and stuff was just call. And then eventually it came to like the texting world. And now it was kind of like we want your phone to do everything and then some and stuff in it, because your phone is now music player, computer,
video player,
heart monitor, and everything like that.
Yeah,
like everything. So mini doctor, all the above, and then some and stuff. And then people work from their phone and stuff, right? Because you have Microsoft Word and everything like that, Notepad. So yeah, they jammed everything they could and stuff into the phone, and then some.
And then some.
Yeah, because if you wanted to listen to music on the go in your car, what did you have to do? What did you need in the car?
You needed a cassette tape with a cord connected to a CD player.
Right, yeah.
People putting portable CDs into the car, CD player into the car, just to play. Yeah. Or you need a CD changer. You know, you'd have the whole
hub. You hold 6 of them in there. Right. Tired of the 6, you gotta stop, go in the truck, open up the change up the 6.
Yeah, it's like
times. Showing our age, gentlemen. It is what it is. All right, we are here. We are at the end.
Nice.
Hit him with the Soul State of Sons this week. Soul State of Sons this week says, try to solve one problem to block 100 of them away. Soul State of Sons. Constantly, a lot of times, people don't deal with one problem and they start to pile up, and you know how it is. You're trying to sweep under the rug. Eventually, the rug is going to come up, and now people are going to be tripping over this rug with this big pile. I don't think we should start, us as people, I can't tell people how to live their life, but I think it's better for people to just kind of just go about life, to try to take their things and stuff, you know, like, let's say 5 things at a time on your plate.
Right.
Because, you know, you might be a parent, you might be a worker, you might be this, you might be in a relationship and stuff like that. Try not to get things that might bombard you. And then when they start piling on more things and stuff to do, now you have no focus, and then you might get lost and get overwhelmed.
Right.
So,
yeah, I like that.
We appreciate you. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you.
Blessing us with your knowledge.
Yeah.
And I would love to see a dream fight in my dreams sometime whenever I sleep between Anderson Silva and John Bone Jones.
And on the female side, let me add Ronda Rousey and Cyborg. We never got to see that fight. Both those fighters in their prime. That was the big female fight that we never got to see.
Yeah.
You know, Cyborg, the Terminator, just demolishing folks all up and down, and then Ronda Rousey, the arm collector. You know, every fight taking somebody's arm off with the arm bar, just using the judo, just throwing people all over the mat. To see those two clash together would have been unbelievable.
Sweet deal. Yes. Tell the people how to find you again. Tell them how to find you and everything you're about.
All right. Well, again, MMACrossfire.com. MMA Crossfire is the website. You can find me there. You can also find me on Instagram at Kenai Andrews and at MMA Crossfire, and on Twitter at Nation Crossfire. Those are the main social channels that we like to use. But by all means, visit MMACrossfire.com. Say hi. Read a story. We have a live chat every Sunday, so that we talk about what's going on in the week that was. We chew the scuttlebutt, if you were.
Before we started recording, you and I were just talking about podcasting, and we were talking about over the pandemic. You had did some stuff over Zoom. I think you said about 35.
About 32 episodes we did.
Where can they find that? Where can we?
That's on primarily on YouTube. It was on a Roku channel. We did that show. It was called TKO Countdown. So it was a TV show on the Roku channel that was live streamed as well to YouTube at the time.
Right.
So those episodes are primarily on YouTube. So if you go to or Twitter, if you go to at Nation Crossfire or at TKO Countdown, a lot of those episodes are on there. But we are actually in development of another show right now.
Nice.
Joseph, called after the Crossfire, and it's going to be a show where we have guests from the combat sports community and from other related walks of life, personalities, actors, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Share their views, their thoughts on issues, and basically get their take on what's going on out there. So that show will primarily be on YouTube. And we're working on it right now. We're projecting it to come out sometime in March. So that's what we're working on.
Yeah.
Nice. Alrighty. Once again, folks, thank you for listening to the Podical Sons. All streaming platforms possible on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Keep sending the Ask Sons questions. Good question. The vagina one was different.
That was different.
And yes. And thank you for listening to Podical Sons. Remember, the difference between genius and stupidity is that genius has its limits. Peace and love, y'all.
Peace and love.
Later.
The Podical Sons with not your average Joseph and Sofa King Marvelous.